Hello, I'm Ollie and this is CriminOlly, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, more stupid answers from me to sensible questions from you. It's Ask CriminOlly. So if you've not seen one of these videos before, it is simply a vehicle for people to ask me questions. So if anybody wants to ask me a question, you just have to put in the comments for any of my videos, put your question with Ask CriminOlly at the start of it, or you can email me at criminolly@gmail.com if you'd like to ask your question that way. And you can be anonymous if you want to, just let me know when you send me the question. So I've got 4 questions, as usual, from 4 different viewers to go through today, 2 of which are biscuit themed, and one is kind of about channel type stuff. And one is very much about books. But as I said at the start, you can ask me questions about anything you want to. Okay, so first question then is from Leslie Spear. And Leslie's question is, and I might have to put up some pictures for this question, because I think there may be some people out there internationally who don't understand it, because I'm not sure how common the thing that this question is about is around the world. I'll shut up and get on with the question. So the question is a Jaffa cake a cake or a biscuit? So a Jaffa cake, and I'll put a picture of one up if you don't know, is kind of a soft, kind of cakey type material, like a kind of sponge, with kind of horrible orange goo in the middle and a bit of chocolate over one side of it. Now, I believe that Jaffa cakes are cakes. And the reason for that is, I was once told, it might have been by my dad, it might have been by someone else, I forget, that you can tell the difference between a cake or a biscuit, because if you leave them out, so if you leave them not in the tin, a biscuit will go soggy over time. It will kind of pull in moisture from the air and it will lose its crispness, whereas a cake will go hard, it will go stale, so it will dry out. And Jaffa cakes, if you leave them out, anyone who's ever left out Jaffa cakes will know that they go hard if you leave them out. So therefore, I believe Jaffa cake is a cake and not a biscuit. Plus, they're called Jaffa cakes. Okay, next question is from Michelle's Melancholia, and Michelle's question is, how do you drink your tea? With a follow-up question of what's your favourite kind of UK biscuit? So the first part of the question is very easy, because I always drink my tea the same way. So I drink my tea with a small amount of milk and half a teaspoon of sugar. And I'm very strict about the way I make tea, to the extent that I tend not to let other people make tea for me, because I find I quite often don't like tea if other people make it for me. And my rules for making tea are that you need to have, so the water needs to be freshly drawn, so don't use water that's been boiled before or anything like that, and if possible it should be filtered as well. You should boil the water and then immediately pour it onto the tea bag, so don't let it cool down at all. The hotter the water, the better the tea will be. And then you should leave it to brew for 5 minutes at least, and not much more than 5 minutes, and certainly not much less than 5 minutes. And then take the tea bag out without squeezing it. You shouldn't squeeze the tea bag, because that can introduce kind of bitterness to the tea. So take the tea bag out, add a splash of milk, half a sugar for me, thank you very much, and that will be a perfect cup of tea. In terms of the second part of the question, this is more difficult to answer, because I do quite like biscuits. So I think my 3 favourites, I'll do my 3 favourites first, and then I'll try and narrow it down. So I really like chocolate hobnobs, milk chocolate. I also really like custard creams, and I also really like malted milks. And if I was to pick a favourite out of those 3, I think it would have to be custard creams, because they're just such a classic, and they taste very good as well. Okay, next question then. What distinguishes... So this is from Reed Becker, and this is a really good question. So, which isn't to say the first 2 questions were, but this one's excellent. So the question is, what distinguishes crime versus thriller versus mystery to you? And I think this is a really tricky question. So I think of crime as being kind of an overarching genre, and thriller and mystery as being subgenres, if you like. So as far as I'm concerned, any mystery novel is a crime novel, because they almost always involve a crime having been committed. and someone trying to get to the bottom of that crime. But then, you know, crime as an overarching genre would also include things that aren't mysteries, so like heist novels or gangster novels or, you know, what have you. So crime is, for me, overarching, so a novel that in some way features crime. Mystery is, you know, has to have a mystery in it, has to have somebody trying to solve that mystery. You know, often a detective or police officer, but it can be, you know, an amateur person. And it should have a resolution to that mystery. There are some mystery novels that don't have a resolution, but I think to be a true mystery, there should be resolution. You should find out who done it at the end of the book. And then thriller. So thriller, I think, is an interesting one because this is a word that seems to be used in different ways by different people. So when I think of the word thriller, I kind of hark back to kind of what I would consider to be a kind of 70s or 80s definition of thriller, which is a kind of espionage or adventure type book. So the sort of thing that Alistair MacLean or Tom Clancy or Clive Cussler wrote, you know, that kind of adventure type book. Whereas the modern use of the word thriller tends to be for what I would call domestic suspense type books. So, you know, you kind of Gillian Flynn's, B.A. Paris, people like that, you know, that kind of novel, which is often about a kind of normal, every woman type character who gets, you know, thrown into some sort of dangerous situation for some reason. They often involve a bit of mystery as well. But yeah, I think nowadays we tend to use the term thriller for that. But then there's another use of it as well, which I've seen. So Penguin have, you know, published a list of, I think it's the 60 best thrillers or something like that. And that's got all sorts in it. So it's got the kind of domestic suspense stuff. It's got Tom Clancy, so The Hunt for Red October's in there. It's got horror, so it's got Stephen King in there. So it's a very broad term there, meaning any book that is thrilling, which seems too broad a term for me. So yeah, I think that's the difference. So I think, so to try and distill that long rambling answer into a nutshell. So crime, overarching, you know, books that are around criminal activity somehow. Mystery, so something that needs to be solved and someone solving it. And then thriller, I think nowadays means domestic suspense. Okay, next question then. So final question, this is from David Lampkin. I'm curious, how many hours a week do you think it takes to produce these videos? Writing outlines, research, etc. So first things first, so I don't write outlines. I do very little preparation for these videos, which tends to mean that I tend to have a lot of false starts in my videos. Particularly like the Sunday Bollocks videos tend to be, I tend to start them about 5 times before I figure out what I actually want to talk about and get into a flow with it. I do make brief notes for some videos in terms of like reviews. I'll make just bullet points of the key points that I want to hit in the review, but I don't make anything like a script for the videos. In terms of filming time, I tend to batch film, which makes things easier. So I have things set up and then I'll record a few videos at once, which is why it looks like I'm usually wearing the same clothes. And I think it takes normally twice the time that the video ends up being to film it. I think that's usually about right to take into account fluffs and full starts and things like that. And then editing probably takes about the same amount of time again. So a 10-minute video would probably take 20 minutes to film and another 20 minutes to edit. And then uploading is quick and easy, and writing the description takes maybe 5 minutes for a long description with a lot of detail in it. So what's that end up with? So that's about, so say 25 minutes to half an hour per video. And I do 7 videos a week, so 4 hours a week making videos probably. But then on top of that, obviously time replying to comments as well. So that's probably at least another hour a week, if not a couple of hours sometimes, depending on how many responses I've had to my videos. Okay, time for a random book from the shelves. Today I've got Die a Little by Megan Abbott, which is a fantastically enjoyable, written in the modern day but set in the 50s in Hollywood, kind of noirish thriller with all sorts of twists and turns. And isn't that just a fantastic pulpy style cover as well. Absolutely love that cover. So yeah, I really like this book, and I've enjoyed all of the Megan Abbott books I've read, in fact. So yeah, she's definitely an author I enjoy. Okay, hope you found that interesting. As I said at the start, if you want to ask a question, feel free either in the comments or email me. But yeah, as always, thanks very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you read good stuff, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.